Hey everybody, and welcome to today's video in which we are going to try and make a model of a simple Bibb faucet. Now, before we start explaining, let's just take a look at what actually is a Bibb faucet. A Bibb faucet is the most simple faucet that you will find. You can find this all over the place. You can have them in yards, you can have them in the garden, pretty much anywhere. So as you can see, a very simple faucet. Here's another one. I'm actually going to use this one as a reference for modeling. So even though it's a very simple model, let's see how would we proceed to making something like this. All right, so let's close it, and in here I've already set up the image as a background on a plane. In case you don't know how to do this, just check out the previous video that I put where I actually go ahead and explain how to do it. Alright, so let's jump straight in and start modeling this faucet. First thing that you want to cover whenever you're modeling something is see how logically you can separate this into distinct parts. So what I mean by this is, if you take a look at our faucet over here, you can pretty much logically separate it in a few parts. I'm just going to freeze this for a second. There you go. The first one is the main body over here. Then you have this part over here, and then you have this one over here, and you have a cylinder inside. So when modeling something like this, always approach it by trying to make it into smaller pieces. So let's start from this portion over here. Now the reason for starting here is that I can see a geometrical shape here, which is basically a cylinder with 6 sides. So for this, I'm going to go over to Create, hit over the cylinder, click, and drag out a cylinder for about yay big. Now, take into consideration the fact that when you're modeling something from an image like this one, you have some perspective distortion, which means that the size will be a bit skewed, so you don't have to go tit for tat on the scale. You can do it by feel. Right, so since I know that this thing has 6 sides, I'm going to get the sides down to 6. Put it into position, get it to be a tad bit bigger, till about so. Alright, now let's start modeling this. The first thing that I want to do is get this look over here that you have usually on rivets like this one. So for this I'm going to convert it to an edible poly first, and then I'm going to go ahead and select these two polygons and delete them. The reason for deleting them is so I can extrude outwards. I can extrude the edges I need to wherever I need them. So for now, I want to get this kind of a shape. And the easiest way to do it is to get some supporting geometry. So I'm going to select all of these edges like this. Just don't select the ones in the middle. And now hit connect. With 2 segments should be enough to hold the form. Now what I want to do here is I'm going to select my vertex, and I'm going to make a selection like this on the edges. Just don't click, but make a selection like this, because if you only click, you're going to select the one in the front and not the one in the back. So just go ahead and select the ones at the corners, and with the scale put them inwards like that, and there you go. You get more or less that shape that we just saw over here. Now we can control how much we want to get that effect or how visible it is, but I think this is okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select my border, and holding down shift I'm going to scale it inwards, and we get this irregular shape. And if we take a look over here, that irregular shape is really giving us a wonky result. So we wanted to have this more regularized. And the way to do it is, just like I said, right click and choose the regularize script. If you don't have the regularize script, then simply go on script spot and click regularize or loop regularizer for 3ds Max. You will find it over there. Now with that done, I'm going to click and do the same thing over here till about so. Again, I'm going to regularize this as well. Hold down shift and drag it outwards till about so. All right, awesome. Now select this one back and let's give it all of the geometry it will need to have this portion over here. Now if you take a look at this part, you're gonna see it has this curve to it, but actually it's a bulge going all over. So we're gonna have to make some geometry that is going to help us get that bulge. So for now I'm gonna start from the start till about the end where the bulge is supposed to end, and now add in a few more. Let's add in a few more extrusions with the rotate. There we go. I just don't want to get this too dramatic. There we go, just like that. Then go rotate it. And just a few more extrusions like that. Just enough to get the shape done. All right, like that. I might actually want to move this around a tiny bit, but it's not a problem, as we are going to be using Turbo Smooth to make this smooth. The Turbo Smooth is going to help us with that. Now, since we got all of this done so far, what we want to do is encompass that bulge. Easiest way to do this is add in one cut in the middle. So this is a Swift Loop. And with that Swift Loop selected, simply scale it outwards like that until you get more or less that size of the bulge till about there. All right, awesome. And now we want to get this part here as well. So in order to get that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these elements here, or all of these polygons, extrude them once. Now I'm gonna go and delete these. Select the border and regularize the border. What this is gonna do is gonna make it so it's an actual circle, which again can give me the ability to control it manually to the size that I want it to be. Let's say still about here, like that. Now what I need to do here is make a few modifications to the size here, so it kind of flows together better. There we go, like this. Select the ones on the bottom, like that. And this should give us the size or the form that we want. Now let's just take one more extrusion upwards to get this. And now with this we basically have the base of our faucet. So if I put on a Turbo Smooth, you will notice that we are starting to get somewhere with this. So now all we got to do is put on the edges to control where the edge flow is going to be. So let's go ahead and do that now. Making the edges for the control here is quite simple. All you got to do is get all of these edges to be sharp. So in order to do that, just select the edges where you want the sharpness, so the ones in the corner. Make sure you don't select the ones that are here just to hold the form. So that one over there, that one, and that one. And now all we got to do here is put a slight chamfer on it. It's a very small amount. We can either use it like that. It has a triangle here, which is not optimal, But in this case, it really won't give us too much of a problem because the Turbo Smooth will fix that issue. So now, once I put the Turbo Smooth back on, you will notice that we no longer have that issue there. And the transition goes quite well from being a sharp turn to the smooth transition over here. Now, what we want to have here is one more extra sharp edge on this portion. So again, select it, put a chamfer with a very slight amount. For this one, I'm going to put 2 edges because I really want to have a clear dividing line there. And there we go. Now we got that finished. All right, so before we continue off to build the rest, usually when you're making a faucet for whatever reason you need, this portion is probably not going to be seen for some reason, but for some reason, if you do have to showcase this for maybe this is a model that you would showcase to a client that wants to sell these and they want to have this effect here, the easiest way to do this is actually by using a spline or a helix. Now, how does it work? Well, the helix is basically the only 2D spline which is basically a 3D shape. So what that means is once you let's turn off this. As you can see, it has this shape. So once you click it, you give it a radius, you give it a height, and you basically get that look, which is what we want here. But now the problem that we have at the moment is how do we get the helix to be the right size? Well, in order to get it to be the right size, you can use a trick or a cheat of a sort. That cheat is you basically select the edge over here where you want the helix to be. You create a shape. You can either make it a smooth or linear, doesn't matter. And with this, you basically end up with a spline. Now for the spline, I'm going to affect the pivot and center it to the object. And now I'm going to come here, make my helix from the circle till about there. I can even make it a tiny bit bigger, doesn't really matter. And just the only thing that you're gonna have to try to do is when you're making it, make sure you don't have different a different value for the radius 1 and radius 2. If you do have a different radius, then your helix is going to be either expanding or collapsing inwards. So make sure you have those two radiuses at the same size. And now if I really want to align both of these together, I can click on the align tool or Alt A, align it with both of their centers, and click OK. Now I can delete my initial line and just go in and put this where I need it, give it the height so it covers the whole thing till about there, give it enable it in the viewport and the renderer, decrease the thickness till you get it to where you want it. And from here you can basically just control how thick you want this, and with the number of the turns you can control how many turns this thing has, and the height is, like we said, that thing over here. We can have it be being clockwise or counterclockwise, whatever works for you. So for now I'm going to leave it like that, and let's proceed to making the rest of this thing. This portion over here, we basically are going to use the same exact thing that we did when we were starting out. So again, just make another, oops, all right, make another cylinder. It's still remembering the 6-sided, which is great for us. And again, I'm going to use the same trick and align both of these together. So this is going to be straight in the center of this portion. So I'm going to select the top one, create the shape, leave it as a smooth one, select it, turn off the viewport and renderer, isolate them. Now I'm going to affect pivot only, center to object, and now I'm going to go ahead and align both of these center by center. That is going to put my sprocket here in and isolate. There we go. So the rivet here is now in the center. I'm going to make it a tad bit bigger so it envelops the whole thing. Right click, convert to an editable poly. Select both of them, delete. Put in the edges that are supposed to hold the form. Connect with two segments. Select the ones that are on the corners. Hold on Control, click on vertex. That is going to select those vertices and scale them down until you get this form over here. As soon as we have that, it's quite easy. Simply just hold on Shift, scale it inwards, pull it upwards until you get it to the right height. We can see from here. Right click and regularize this. Great. Do the same thing for the bottom. There we go. Right click, regularize, and we can go ahead and do this thing one more time. And now we just want to get it to more or less the size for that inner cylinder or this portion over here. Once we have that size done, I'm going to move it on the Z-axis and snap it to the height of this here. Pull it inwards just once, and that should be enough because this is really not going to be seen. But in case you get close, now you have the helping geometry to help with the holding the form. Let's just put in the supporting edges again, corners, selected, and with all of that selected, let's go ahead and chamfer this. Very small amount, like 0.2. Oh, it doesn't really have to be 0.2 or anything, because in my case I'm just using millimeters, and my model is pretty small, so yours might be bigger, so it kind of depends on the scale that you're working in. So don't hold me by the numbers. Just use whatever you see fit for your model. There we go. And isolate. Let's stop this from being transparent. And there we go. Now the only thing that we have to make here is just this portion, and that is another quite easy thing to do. So again, make another cylinder. Outwards, and for this I'm actually going to make it so it's a tad bit more detailed. So instead of 6 we can either go 12 or let's go with 18. By a power of 3 should be good. Alright, so I'm going to convert this to an editable poly. Pull it upwards till we get the height. And now I'm going to put one in the middle there. And basically select all of these and scale them in. So we get that form over there. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is select the bottom and the top and delete those. And from here, now I want to get this portion here And the easiest way would be add in 2 more connects like that, and simply come in here, select 6 of these, delete, right click, regularize, now make them expand a bit, even higher. Like we said, take into account the fact that we have some perspective distortion here, and get it smaller. Now for this, what I can do is I can cap this, connect those, and simply cut across here, cut across here, and this should be okay when it starts smoothing. See it? There we go. So basically, once we put on the turbo smooth, we can see that this thing smooths quite well. And now, just so we don't have to do the same thing on the other side, what I'm going to do here is put a symmetry modifier, and we get it on the other side. So now on top of the symmetry modifier, I'm going to put 1 more edit poly. I'm going to delete those ones in the middle because we really don't need those. Select the one on the top and the one on the bottom. Hold on Shift until we get it like that, and bridge it together. That is going to give us another hole, which is going to be meant for the cylinder that is supposed to be going inside. But before we do that, let's just put in some extra edges to hold that form. Like you've already seen me do here. It's the same thing, just chamfer it with a very small amount. We can even put 2 segments because we want to retain that sharp look. Put on the turbo smooth, put in 2 iterations. There we go, we got that going, and the only thing that's left is the cylinder in the middle, which again, we can either use a cylinder or we can use just any type of a spline and make it renderable. Now that we already just made a cylinder, it's pointless to go and make a spline. So make it smaller till about there. Give it an edit poly. Check the size, put it upwards, and there we go. Now with this, we basically have modeled all of the parts for this Bibb Faucet. So now before we end, I'm going to select everything, give it a gray color, just so I don't lose sight of what I've done. You can see everything is there, and the only thing that I might be missing is a bit of thickness here, so it doesn't look like it's made out of nothing or just a 1 polygon. So that's a really easy thing to fix. All you gotta do is just give it a shell, give it some thickness to whatever works good for you, and there you go. We have everything modeled. We have this portion, we have this, everything is modeled and pretty much done. So I hope you guys had fun, you managed to learn something new. If you have any questions, leave them below. I will meet you in the comment section of the video. Also, if you enjoyed the video, then please click the like button, as it really does help a lot. And if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye for now.